In a world obsessed with being heard, the most powerful leaders are the ones who know how to listen. Listening is more than a skill, it's a strategy. It builds trust, connection, and clarity in a noisy world. Welcome to episode 2 of The Human Edge in an AI World, where we explore how listening transforms vulnerability into your greatest leadership strength. Welcome back, leaders. I'm LaTania Michelle, Executive Coach, Corporate Communication Strategist, and your guide through the L.E.A.F Leadership Masterclass. Today, we're diving into the first element of the L.E.A.F framework, listening. Now, when most people think of listening, they imagine sitting quietly while someone else talks. But in leadership, listening is an act of power. It's how you create psychological safety, foster innovation, and show your team that their voices matter. The truth is, most leaders think they're good listeners, but their teams don't agree. Let's start with the reality. Research from the Harvard Business Review found that 89% of employees believe their leaders don't listen effectively, even though 96% of leaders think they do. That's a major perception gap, and that gap is costing companies millions in disengagement, turnover, and lost innovation. When people don't feel heard, they stop contributing ideas. They disengage quietly and eventually they leave loudly. But when leaders listen, really listen, they ignite trust, creativity, and connection. Listening becomes your leadership superpower. Listening doesn't weaken your authority, it humanizes your authority. Let's talk about what's happening in the brain when we listen. When someone feels truly heard, their brain releases oxytocin, the hormone associated with bonding and trust. At the same time, cortisol, the stress hormone, drops. That means active listening literally calms the nervous system and opens the mind to collaboration. It's a biological truth. People think more clearly when they feel safe. That's why listening is not passive, it's transformational. It disarms defensiveness, builds empathy, and allows innovation to flow because people stop protecting their ideas and start sharing them. When leaders practice consistent, focused listening, they rewire the team's culture one conversation at a time. Let's be real, listening can feel uncomfortable. When you open yourself up to feedback or opposing opinions, it can make you feel exposed. Many leaders avoid deep listening because they fear criticism or conflict. But the truth is, listening requires courage. It takes strength to pause, to not defend yourself, to say, "Tell me more." I once coached a healthcare executive who struggled with team morale. She believed she was a great communicator, but her staff said they felt unheard. So, she made one small change. She replaced her update meetings with listening meetings. At first, she was nervous. She worried that she'd hear complaints she couldn't fix. But over time, those sessions became her most valuable leadership tool. Turnover dropped. Creativity soared. Her team began to trust her again, not because she had all the answers, but because she cared enough to listen. Listening doesn't require perfection, it requires presence. Now, let's make this practical. Here are 4 strategies for mastering active, strategic listening as a leader. Create space before you speak. Before you respond, pause. That 1 or 2-second gap communicates respect and reflection. It tells your team, "You matter enough for me to think before I speak." Listen for emotion, not just information. Leadership listening means tuning into tone, pace, and energy. Ask yourself, what's being said and what's not being said. That's where the real insight lives. Reflect and reframe. After someone shares, summarize what you heard. What I'm hearing is that you're frustrated with how decisions are made, but you really want to see more collaboration. Is that right? That reflection not only builds clarity, but shows you're truly engaged. Schedule dedicated listening time. I challenge executives to hold a 30-minute listening session once a week with no agenda, no updates, just curiosity. Ask open-ended questions like, what's one thing we could do better as a team? What's something you wish leadership understood more clearly? What ideas are we not exploring enough? You'll be amazed at how quickly innovation follows listening. Listening requires vulnerability. It means saying, I don't have all the answers, but I care enough to understand. And in that moment, when you stop performing leadership and start practicing humanity, you gain something far greater than control, influence. Because people don't follow titles, they follow trust. And trust is built through one simple, powerful behavior, listening. The most visionary leaders in the world aren't the loudest, they're the most attentive. Listening doesn't make you soft, it makes you strategic. It transforms meetings into meaningful conversations and workplaces into communities. So, here's your leadership activation challenge this week. Schedule one listening conversation with someone in your team, your organization, or even at home. Your only goal is to understand. No agenda, no defense, no fixing. Ask questions, be curious. Listen not to reply, but to connect. Then reflect. What did you learn about them? And what did you learn about yourself as a leader? Because when you learn to listen, you don't just hear words, you hear the heart of your organization. I'll see you in episode 3, Encouraging Dialogue, Building Cultures of Innovation. Until then, remember, leadership begins with listening.